the shoulder and parked. She unfastened the seatbelt and shrugged out of her jacket. It felt like shedding a 1,000-pound wool coat. Knuckles rapped on the window, and she pressed the lever at the same time she leaned closer to the air vents. "I'm sorry, officer," she said automatically, fanning her hand in front of her face. "I was having a bit of trouble taking off my jacket around the seatbelt. I'll be more careful." "License and registration, ma'am." The rumbly voice gave her pause, and she sat back, glancing up into the face of a man who could have been the direct descendant of some Wild West lawman. The firm set of his jaw and rugged good looks seemed like a throwback to the era of John Wayne, although he wore a modern law enforcement uniform of a beige button-down and black tie, khaki pants, and a gun clearly tucked into the holster at his waist. The button clipped above his shirt pocket read, "Sheriff." Okay, then. The real deal. And not feeling all that friendly, if the tight line of his mouth was any indication, she couldn't see his eyes behind the mirrored aviator sunglasses, but imagined he was glaring at her. "Of course," she said, and pulled her wallet out of the Louis Vuitton purse on the passenger seat. "You know texting and driving is against the law," he said as she handed him her driver's license. "I was having some sort of bizarre hot flash," she blurted. "Not texting." Even now she could feel the silk tank top clinging to her skin. "Anger-induced, not hormonal," she felt compelled to add, her cheeks flaming. One thick brow lifted above the frame of his sunglasses, and Sienna resisted the urge to fidget. "You were also driving 20 miles above the speed limit." "I certainly was not." Sienna rolled her eyes. "I'd never drive that fast." "Ma'am," she pointed a finger at him, "I don't like your tone when you call me ma'am. I clocked you at 85, and it's a 65-mile-an-hour zone that drops to 45 as you come into town." He paused, then added, "Ma'am." Sparks raced across Sienna's skin. Somehow his tone had gone from patronizing to sexy as hell in one word. She had no idea what had possessed her to try to goad this small-town sheriff into a reaction, but her body's response to him was totally unexpected. And bothersome. "I'm sorry," she repeated. "This isn't my car, so I'm not used to how it drives." The truth was she'd been too preoccupied with mentally trash-talking her cheating ex-boyfriend to realize she was driving recklessly. Kevin's fault as well. "Who does the car belong to?" "I don't know." She flipped open the glove compartment. "I assume it's a rental. I took it from my ex-boyfriend." The sheriff leaned forward, his hands resting above the driver's side window, the fabric of his shirt pulled tight across his arms, revealing the outline of corded muscles. "As in, you stole it?" "No," she answered immediately. It wasn't quite like that." She closed her eyes and drew in a breath. In fact, it was exactly like that. She'd taken a private shuttle from the Aspen airport to the upscale hotel where Kevin had made a reservation. She'd originally been scheduled to come on this trip with him, 3 days in the mountains of Colorado with a few meetings thrown in to make it a legitimate business expense. Sienna hadn't been back to Colorado in almost 2 decades, and to make a trip so soon after her estranged brother's visit to Chicago last year, well, it had been too much to even consider. Yet in the end, she couldn't stay away. Kevin had acted so disappointed she wasn't coming, dropping subtle hints that he'd planned to pop the question in Aspen. So she'd taken a red-eye into Denver, then a commuter plane to Aspen, thinking how fun it would be to surprise him. She'd surprised him, all right. In bed with another woman. Could it get more cliched than that? Her life had been reduced to a cliche. "How about we start with the registration?" the sheriff asked, his voice gentling as if somehow he could sense what a mess she was on the inside. That infuriated her even more. Sienna didn't do vulnerable. People around her saw what she wanted them to see. And the thought that this mountain town Mayberry lawman could see beyond her mask made her want to lash out at someone, anyone. Sheriff Hot Pants, for one. She dipped her chin and looked up at him through her lashes, flashing a small, knowing smile.